So, it's 2021 and it's your New Year's resolution to read more books, and I got you. I'm gonna explain how I went from reading 0 books to over 100 books in the last few years. Hi everyone, I'm Jessica Nicole Dickerson, aka J&D, and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, we are going to be breaking down how to read more books. And basically, I'm sure you've heard these regular tips. Just read more. Stop scrolling on your phone and read. Know why you want to read. These tips make sense, but they're not innately helpful to get you to actually physically read more. They're just, what you may already know in your head, why you want to read. For education, for fun, for whatever. So let's break down actual tips that I've used to read more books or just to read more in my daily life. The first thing I want to address is how to avoid boredom. And this honestly is something you actually may not be aware that you already do with other things besides reading, but now we're going to get you to do it with reading. So have you ever watched a TV show and been kind of like, it's kind of boring, but I'll watch the second episode to see what happens, and then by the third you're hooked? So there is a possibility that you are not giving reading the fair chance it takes. Yes, books are supposed to be engaging. Sometimes you are going to have to read more than the first paragraph, but if you have been reading this book for 13 chapters or 5 chapters, whatever, you've been reading a decent amount, 50 plus pages, and you are bored, chances are you should just put down that book and read a different one. I'm not saying that book is boring, and I think that's also the issue. A lot of people think if this book doesn't engage me this second, it's a bad book. No, it's probably just either not for you or not for this moment in time. You might be reading a romance when you're actually craving something really vicious and full of, I was about to say energy, but the word I wanted to say was adventure. I don't know why. Vicious came. Okay, brain fart is over. So just know that your mood changes all the time. The same with how you watch TV shows and engage in other content like TikTok and things like that. You are going to watch a lot of videos that may have one theme in common, and then you realize that you've overdone it and you need to change it up a little. Reading is just like that. So if you ever realize that you're bored of a book or something, chances are you might just want to pick up another book or change the format of that book. In 2021, we are going to accept that comic books are books, audiobooks are obviously books, and ebooks. These are all forms of reading that you can do all the time. And I think we really underestimate how ebooks are so easy and accessible nowadays on your phone. Yeah, life is too short to be focused on one book. And that is why in high school or middle school, I feel like we all hated reading so much, is because you were forced to read this one particular book because it was told to us that it was a good literary book. And I'm sure it was, but being forced to read book after book after book that we don't relate to, it doesn't engage us in the way we want, we're gonna be turned off by it 100%. And that's what I think happens to most of us. We're like,
reading is boring. Back in high school when I did it, it sucked.
It's because you're not reading what you want to read. Life is too short. Read what you want, whether that's nonfiction or fiction. Check out the kind of TV shows you like to watch or movies and start reading books that are similar to those. It's actually quite fun. I attest. I didn't read a single book in high school, and now I'm here reading hundreds of books because I realized there are so many books out there that are actually fun and engaging, but they're just not classic lit. And then you notice that you'll eventually want to read classic lit, and it's probably because that age group of people who enjoy it are the ones who are teaching all of us that it's great, and all of us being 14 or whatever are like,
it sucks.
It makes sense. So try reading books that you're gonna like. Give the book a fair chance, and if it doesn't engage you after about 50 pages, it's okay to let it go and try a new one. And also use your library. I'm not saying to go and buy a bunch of books and then DNF them, not finishing them, and then donating them. Don't waste your money. Use a library or use Kindle and download ebooks. There are ways to do this for free, guys. Don't waste money. So like I said earlier, we all use our phones and we all find ourselves scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. We're all addicted to our phones. We all know this. It's a way of life now. It's attached to our hip. It's very hard to detach. But now use that addiction for a positive thing. So if you find yourself doom scrolling through articles and articles of facts and things that stress you out and give you anxiety, try opening up your Libby account, which is a digital library account where you can either listen to audiobooks or read ebooks, or Kindle has a ton of books available for free or for very, very cheap, like $1 or $2. Test them out. Download them onto your app on your phone, and when you find yourself scrolling and scrolling, just close that app, recognize what you just did, recognize we don't want to go there today, and open up a new app and read. I found it to be really engaging because it's on your phone, so you can make the font big and you can scroll and scroll, and it feels like you're reading a lot because you are reading way more than you probably would on a regular day on your phone. And then also you start to do it in your regular life. So you're cooking a meal instead of just scrolling through Twitter waiting for your pasta to boil or whatever, because you know I'm not a fancy chef, so my pasta's just boiling, nothing special's happening. I open up my app, go to my Kindle, and start reading a chapter of a new book. And even if you just read one chapter a day, that is way more than what you probably would have done if you would have just stayed on Twitter. Listen. And I know we all do it. We all sit on our toilets and scroll through Twitter or whatever. Instead of scrolling, open a reading app. Just try it. Just try it. It's I know we all do it. We all sit in the bathroom watching content that we don't need to be. We could instead be reading a fun book and engaging our brain in a different way. And it's way less boring. I find that after scrolling and scrolling on social media, I get really bored and anxious because I'm just trying to find something to grab my attention. And reading does that. After reading a book and you're like in the middle of it, or after it just starts to get good, it's engaging. You're like flying through. But again, pick books you like and stop scrolling on the internet, kids. Or just aimlessly scrolling. Because it's fun to like scroll every once in a while. But guys, we should not be spending more than like 15 minutes on Instagram. And I know we are all spending way more than 6 hours doing nothing on our phones. Imagine if you spent those 6 hours, instead of scrolling, reading. Do you know how much books you would have read? Mind blown. The next thing you could do to establish a more reading lifestyle, making reading more accessible in your daily life, is to make it a part of your routine. So what you may not have noticed is that you watch TV at the same time every day. I know this for a fact. I know a lot of you be watching TV after you're done with work or right before bed. You turn on the TV, you watch a couple episodes. You do that every day. No problem. Like, yeah, I'll watch it. You don't even know sometimes what you want to watch, what you're in the mood. You'll just turn something on and watch it. It's easy, yes, because you can kind of turn off your brain and just watch the content. But you do it routinely. Even if sometimes you don't even feel like putting on a movie, we just put on a movie, right? Right? You understand. So now taking that you do that routinely, start making a reading routine. Take a week to figure out what time of day is best for reading. Are you a morning reader? And I find morning reading honestly to be so therapeutic. Like, no, I don't end up reading a lot of pages in the morning, but it's like a nice way to wake up where I'm not like, no one's yelling at me, because the YouTube videos I watch are so energetic and full of life, and it's like 9 a.m. and I'm not here for people being excited. No. So sometimes just reading a chapter of a book instead of immediately turning on the TV or looking at my phone, picking up a book and reading a few pages wakes me up. It does. So take a week, figure out what time of day is best for reading. And if you're like, well, I like to read at night, but it kind of makes me sleepy, embrace it. Because you know what? We all need to sleep. It's a part of life. So you know what? If you only read 5 or 10 pages before you sleep, do that every night. By the end of the week, 50 to 70 pages read, just because you read before you slept. So start seeing when you like to read and doing it. I feel like that's the thing. We never take the time to reflect on ourselves to improve for the better. We're just like, it's a hard thing and I don't want to do it. I know, I'm incredibly lazy. It's too hard. I don't want to do it. And now I read all the time. It's hard, but it's just self-reflection. Noticing that you don't like The Great Gatsby in high school wasn't a deep thought. I left high school going, wow, I don't want to read that book again. I just didn't contemplate that, hey, not every book is like The Great Gatsby. And there's so much more to it. And that when I read that it's okay to only read 5 pages. Or if your reading style is, I like to read 100 pages in one go and getting it out of the way, do that. Figure out a way to put that into your routine. Maybe you can't read every single day. Maybe that tires you out too much. You need to figure out what works for you and what makes you happy, boo, because it's all about making you happy. I feel like sometimes we put this pressure to reach these goals, to read 100 books. It's like, hey, you don't have to do that. You just have to be doing what you want. And if your goal is to read more, simply just read more, either every day, every week, however you can fit it into your life, because everyone's different. You know, you gotta figure out that puzzle. You gotta do the thing. And here's a tip for people who maybe don't know where to start or don't even know what books to do, like read. You're just unsure of the path. You're in a huge reading slump and you haven't been reading for years, or it's been a month, a week, however long it may be, and you're just kind of in a rut. Something I do on occasion, which I don't know if it's a good habit, but it helps. Amazon has this really cool function where you can look into books and actually read their first few pages. So I definitely recommend just shopping for books online, not actually buying them, because we don't waste money in this house. You can look through, read the preview, and if you actually read the whole preview of that book, like 4 or 10 pages, and you want to read more, it's probably a book you're really gonna like. Request it at the library, maybe purchase it if you want, or see if it's available online for free. Just definitely explore more, and also explore a lot of the content that you like to take in and do it in a book instead. So if you watch a lot of TV that's science fiction, start reading more science fiction. But also, when you get bored, and that's the thing too, reading can be boring. Sure, everything in life can be boring if you do it for too long. So I suggest the fun thing about reading is switching up the format. I already mentioned it, but reading audiobooks, comic books, ebooks, reading physically. Switch up the method that you read, and you made a reading routine and you have it all set up and you start doing it every day and you kind of get tired of it. You're like, wow, this is actually very boring. Switch it up. Switching either your location, the format you're reading, the genre you're reading in. Do it different. Don't be scared to switch it up a little. Another thing that I tend to do a lot, for me personally, I'm a very competitive person. This is how I really got to 100 books a year, is that I rewarded myself in ways. So some people have the rule of 1 in, 1 out. For every book you read, you get to buy another book. That only really helps if you collect books. But if you're not a collector and you just simply want to read more books through the library or whatever, that may not be a good reward. You know, you talking yourself up to go sit and read isn't always the same. Sometimes you just need a little pat on the back, but you need an actual pat on the back. So like a sticker, or something I always do in my planners, every time I finish a book, I write it down that I finished it. So at the end of the month, I can see that I read a lot of books. Obviously, some months I have like 1 book and it's like, okay, I accepted that that was either a hard month or something happened in the world that made me mad and not want to read. So I can kind of look and see when I was reading a lot and how many books I read. And I can also see a pattern of the month when I read a lot of books, I was reading a lot of a certain genre that piqued my interest. Reward yourself, kids, is the lesson. And not in material items. Try not to buy something every time you finish a book. Like, don't go buy a new outfit every time you finish a book. So try finding fun, different ways to reward yourself. Like every time you finish a book, you get to watch a new movie. Or, even easier, every time you finish a chapter, you get to watch an episode. Little things like that, especially towards the beginning, or if you're in the middle of a reading slump, just find smaller, easier ways to tackle things. Stop thinking of the big picture. We gotta let go of the big picture, because when you focus on the daily, when you focus on the small things you do every day, when you step back, then you realize, I've done so much. Whereas if you're thinking of big picture, you might get anxious, you might get nervous, you might then not do anything, because big picture can be scary. So focus on small daily things to do. You can do it. I believe in you. Those are really all my tips, but honestly, this video is all about how to have fun while reading and making sure you know yourself as a reader. I feel like most of us don't. That is not a skill that is given in public education or even private education. It's a skill that you really have to figure out for yourself. Do you like young adult contemporary books? Do you like mangas? Do you like non-fiction? There are so many categories, and you can like multiple categories, but most likely you will not like them all. Figure out what genres you like. Figure out the kind of reader you are, when you like to read, what you like to read, how, and then start implementing them. And then also learn how you could switch it up and keep it hot and fresh and fun. Yeah, that's today's video. I really hope it was helpful. I feel like I gave you a lot of tips that are actually like doable, that I feel like a lot of people don't tell you. So that is it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. Stick around, I have more videos coming up, so hit the notification bell and subscribe if you liked it. And if you watched to the end of this video, make sure to comment down below a little red heart, because then I'll know you're the real MVP and you stayed till the end of the video, which means the whole world to me. Thank you so much for sticking around. I hope this video gave you a little bit more sunshine. I will see you in the next one. Bye.